Was the 2020 election stolen? Believe it or not, this question has not been answered. Although politicians keep claiming the 2020 election was not stolen, the fact remains that millions of Americans still believe there were issues with the 2020 election that have not been resolved. Voting systems were changed is what started the idea of a stolen election. No matter what politicians say, they cannot change the fact for the first time ever in many states election ballots were mailed out to people who never requested an election ballot. Some of the state did not have every voter's signatures on file and had to steal the signatures from other systems like a DMV system. Vote count was delayed, beyond a reasonable number of days. In a normal election, the election is over within 24 hours of the vote. The delay was mainly caused by an issue with validating signatures of mail-in votes. The unusual vote count delay was not the only issue. The other issue was the outcome of the election would have been different if the mail-in votes with signature issues were not counted. These issues may have been cleared up with a standard election audit, but audits were denied. Denied request for audits was the start of trouble. Many politicians started to claim there was no need for normal election audits, because there was no evidence of voter fraud. This argument fell apart when some evidence of voter fraud was found with the mail-in votes. Politicians then changed their argument to there was not enough voter fraud to change the results. Finding some evidence was enough to make it clear that audits needed to be done to validate the politicians' claims. Denying audits was the start of Conceal Steal. A group had gone to a lot of trouble to steal the election with mass mailings of election ballots, and they started the Conceal the Steal plan to make sure the steal was not uncovered. As more and more audits were denied, the public was forced to respond to the Conceal the Steal. Conceal the Steal plan invoked a response to stop the steal. The Stop the Steal plan's main goal was to get audits done so that we could get answers to all the questions. If there was no voter fraud, then there was no valid reason to deny audits. The only reason an audit would be denied to conceal something like voter fraud. Conceal the Steal versus Stop the Steal came to a head on January 6, 2021. January 6 was the day of the election certification process. The procedures for election certification are written in law. By law, the VP is responsible for making sure state written objections are addressed, debated, and voted on. Stop the Steal used 4 written objections. The Stop the Steal plan was to follow the procedures of election certification to the letter of the law. According to the law, it was the job of Congress to debate and vote on all written objections. If all 4 objections had been sustained, then it was possible that audits would have had to be done before the election certification could be completed. It was also possible, but not likely, that VP Pence could have told Congress to vote to reject all unverified mail-in election ballots, which may have changed the results of the election. Conceal the Steal used a staged fake insurrection. To prevent the Stop the Steal plan, the Conceal the Steal plan had to interrupt Congress. The so-called insurrection in fact did interrupt the first debate of the Arizona written objection, putting an end to the Stop the Steal plan. Just minutes after the fake insurrection started, President Trump tweeted, "VP Pence failed and it is over." Trump's action proves that the insurrection was not part of the Stop the Steal plan. We need to put an end to the Conceal the Steal cover-up. There is no question that the Conceal the Steal plan worked. And audits were never done. It is not likely the Stop the Steal plan would have worked, but we will never know, because the Stop the Steal debates were never completed and audits were denied. I hope you can now see that the idea that Trump had something to gain by staging an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol does not make any sense. We should not let the people behind the Conceal the Steal plan go unnamed. It is time to get answers and put an end to the Conceal the Steal cover-up.